I met my online crush in the boss's anti-fan group. In less than a month, I managed to turn her into a love-struck fool. Until one day, she suddenly suggested we meet in person. But when I arrived at the agreed location, I was shocked to see my boss, Liu Ryan. I immediately called my online crush to vent. To my surprise, she picked up the phone. She laughed and walked towards me. Honey, keep cursing, I'm listening. In my past life, I must have done too many bad deeds. Now, in this life, I have to wake up at dawn and work like a horse. Following Manager Liu's instructions, I lined up to buy a ton of coffee for the company. I was supposed to get 514 yuan, but she just gave me 500. She acted as if it was perfectly normal. If there's nothing else, you can leave now. How dare she act like this? I queued up early in the morning to buy all this crap. And after finally delivering it to the company, she had the nerve to short my money. At this moment, my frustration was still boiling. Without a word, I grabbed a cup of coffee and threw it at her face. Her 14 yuan is settled now. Why act high and mighty over that missing 14 yuan? I tossed the cup and walked away, ignoring her screams in the office. I had just sat down when someone next to me leaned over. How Zugun? You've got some nerve. Do you know Manager Liu is not someone to mess with? Her cousin's classmate's nephew is none other than our big boss, Liu Ryan. So what? I'm working to make money, right? If I have to spend my own money to work, how am I different from a beast of burden? I said angrily. Besides, Manager Liu always bullies me, relying on her connections. Every day, she takes advantage of my honesty. I pulled out my phone and started venting. That Manager Liu, stuffing a green onion in an elephant's trunk, acting all high and mighty. She dared to short my money. Isn't it just because she's related to Liu Ryan? As soon as I sent the message, she replied instantly. Baby, don't be mad, that was way too much. How could she take my baby's money? Then she transferred 5,200 and 1,314 yuan to me. Baby, cheer up. Let's treat ourselves to something nice. This terrible manager should just be fired by the boss. Forget it. Liu Ryan would never fire her. It's hopeless. After venting, I felt much better inside. Especially after receiving the money, I was grinning ear to ear. My colleague noticed immediately. You were just fuming like a bull. How did you suddenly become so cheerful? Chatting with your girlfriend? What does your girlfriend look like? I answered honestly. I don't know. My colleague rolled their eyes and teased me for being secretive. But it's not that I'm hiding anything I really don't know. Because my girlfriend and I are in an online relationship, and we haven't met in person yet. The way we met was pretty bizarre too. We met in the anti-fan venting group of our boss, Liu Ryan. Who would have thought the company had a venting group with over 200 people? In the group, it's either gossip or complaints about the leaders. Liu Ryan, as the boss, gets the worst of it. The day I came for my interview, my first impression of her wasn't great. Even though she looks quite refined, she dressed sharply, but those slightly upturned fox-like eyes of hers gave off a shrewd and calculating vibe. Liu Ryan was well known in the industry, taking charge at a young age. She was strict with her subordinates and lacked empathy. If I hadn't been desperately job hunting back then, I wouldn't have come here at all. A few days into the job, a colleague pulled me into the group. Joining this group felt like returning to my happy hometown. On the first day, I started venting about the awful company food. It was also that day my online girlfriend reached out to me. You hate Liu Ryan too? What a coincidence, so do I. Since then, we chatted more and more frequently. She never minded my constant complaints. This brought us even closer. Baby, where are you? I asked. Dealing with some documents. She replied along with a photo. In the photo was a desk, with some documents scattered on top, and a shiny hand holding a fountain pen. It was pure heaven for anyone with a hand fetish. I couldn't help but zoom in again and again. Suddenly, a colleague nudged me. and I quickly put down my phone. I looked up to see the boss, now tittied up, walking towards me. Kaozu-kun, you've really disappointed me. I intended to give you, as an intern, an opportunity to grow, but you went ahead and did this. How dare you treat your leader like this? Are you going to fire me? I cut her off. Whatever, I don't want this job anymore. If you're planning to fire me, closing parenthesis, I'll go straight to Liu Ryan and spill everything about how everyone badmits her. If you apologize to me, I might just forgive you. After all, if you lose your job, you won't even be able to pay your rent. If you've got the guts, go ahead and fire me. Manager Liu was fuming, breathing heavily. She was just about to speak when someone called her. It was a woman I didn't recognize. But the moment Manager Liu saw her, she immediately nodded and bowed. From that alone, I could tell this person wasn't ordinary. Who is that? I asked curiously. My colleague whispered. That's Liu Ryan's personal assistant, the assistant expressionless. Said Manager Liu, the boss wants to see you. Manager Liu nodded repeatedly, but not without giving me a final glare before leaving. Kaozu-kun, just you wait. When I'm back, I'll definitely fire you. But I waited the whole day. And instead of her firing me, I received a notice from the HR department. Manager Liu was fired for falsifying expense reimbursements. How did the upper management find out about the 14 yuan? Upon hearing the news, Manager Liu stormed around the office, cursing loudly. I've been working diligently for this company for so many years. Even if I haven't made any great contributions, I've put in a lot of effort. Why should I be fired? Besides, who doesn't know about my relationship with the boss? I'm Liu Ryan's special arrangement. Pack up your things and leave today. HR said, then turned and walked away, leaving Manager Liu slumped in her chair, teary-eyed and speechless. That very evening, the company issued a new rule. Employees are no longer allowed to advance payments for company purchases, including afternoon tea. All are strictly prohibited. The finance department even proactively reached out to me, saying they would return the 14 yuan to me. Upon seeing this message, I jumped up from my bed in excitement. Before going to sleep, as usual, I called my girlfriend for a chat, and I told her about what happened. Who would have thought that despite her cold demeanor, she actually has a sense of humanity? Cold? I assumed my girlfriend didn't understand what I meant. So I explained, you see, she's always wrapped up tight, preferring to keep the air conditioning at 24 degrees rather than taking off a layer of clothing. Actually, Liu Ryan has a great figure, but her aura is just too intimidating. She doesn't seem easy to get along with. Don't you like that? Whether I like it or not doesn't really matter. We talked until 11, and as I was drifting off, I vaguely heard a sound on the other end. She said goodnight and hung up. I was just about to sleep when suddenly a few messages popped up. They were photos from my girlfriend. Do you like me like this? I clicked open casually, and suddenly I was wide awake. I took a deep breath and carefully admired them several times. Now I really couldn't sleep. Do you like it, baby? Love it. Can't get enough. Send more next time. The next morning, I received more photos from my girlfriend. It felt like all my resentment about waking up early for work had vanished. It was like I had returned to normal life. I kept flipping through these photos repeatedly. As soon as I sat at my desk, someone knocked on my table. I don't like people who arrive just on time. Please come to the company earlier from now on. I stared blankly at the person in front of me. He clapped his hands and stepped to the center. I'm the new manager, He Kong. I believe in working efficiently, and I hope everyone can keep up with my pace. Also, I don't like people who clock in at the last minute. Starting work at 9 means you should be working at 9, not just clocking in at 9. If this happens again, there will be a 200 yuan fine. Hearing the words 200 yuan fine, I shuddered inside. So much for the flexible working hours they promised. It's only flexible on when you start, not when you end. New broom sweep clean. And just before the end of the day, Kong suddenly demanded that everyone submit a work report before leaving. I'll stay up late to review them all. And work overtime with you guys. You earn what I earn, huh? I'm just an intern. You can't expect me to sacrifice my life for the company, right? The more I thought about it, the more annoyed I got. I immediately stood up to oppose. Didn't the boss just say in last week's meeting that the company doesn't encourage overtime? Last week, Manager Lou came up with a whimsical idea to pile us with work. I vented to my girlfriend, and to get all the tasks done. I was so busy I didn't even have time to call her at night. As soon as I said that, my colleagues looked at me like I was a hero. Some even secretly gave me a thumbs up. But Kong only paused for a moment before letting out a cold laugh. Do you know why you're still just a little intern? With that, Kong called me straight into his office for a talk. You might not fully understand what kind of person Liu Ryan is. Kong said she wants to foster a company culture that's aggressive and relentless. If you think you can get through your internship without working overtime, you're mistaken. Liu Ryan dislikes slackers the most. As your direct supervisor, it's my duty to teach you properly. Today, the senior leaders had a meeting and requested work reports from everyone. What goes at the top should be echoed at the bottom. You all need to follow suit. Kong gave me a contemptuous glance, told me to work hard, and then dismissed me. Baby, can we chat earlier tonight? I miss you. When I received the message from my girlfriend, I was busy typing away on my keyboard. Canned, I don't have time today. Why? It's all because of Liu Ryan, fostering this Volf culture. It's endless overtime every day. I curse her to always be one player short in Mahjong, to always get cheated when buying groceries, and to be constantly criticized when playing chess. My girlfriend responded quickly. She does sound awful. I was about to continue venting when I suddenly heard footsteps. The next second, Liu Ryan appeared in our department with a group of people. Kong hurriedly rushed out of his office to greet her. Liu! All the other departments have finished work. Why hasn't yours? Are you planning to cover the company's electricity bill for me? No, Liu. It's just that you said you wanted work reports from all departments. So we were preparing them to get them to you as quickly as possible. Liu Ryan gave Kong a cold look, and her words were particularly sharp. What were you listening to in the meeting? If you don't need your ears, you can donate them to someone who does. Is your brain just for show? Or is it just there to make you look taller? Or did I not say to give me the reports by the end of the month? Besides, I only need reports from the middle management. What's the point of having your staff work overtime for this? The pointless internal competition is because of you. Your lack of workability makes you feel the need to show off, doesn't it? If that's the case, maybe you should skip the company and go straight to the circus to be a clown. By the way, the company never intended to cultivate a Volf culture. This is human society, not a primitive tribe. Liu Ryan's tirade left Kong with nowhere to hide. Everyone can clock out now. I'll make sure the finance department pays for the overtime, and it'll be deposited into your accounts. You can all go home. Be safe on your way back. As soon as Liu Ryan finished speaking, cheers erupted in the room. Watching her, I saw a greatness I had never seen before. Oh my god, for the first time, I thought Liu Ryan was so cool. I might even be falling for her. I meant to send that to someone else, but somehow I ended up sending it to my girlfriend. Just as I was about to retract it, I suddenly heard an exclamation not far away. I looked up and saw Liu Ryan being supported by a few people nearby, still clutching her phone. All I could see was a chat interface, and I couldn't tell what message could have made her trip on flat ground. Why are her ears turning red? Why is she looking at me? Unexpectedly locking eyes with Liu Ryan, she suddenly spoke up. I was so startled that I shivered. my mind replaying the image of her scolding people earlier. I just wanted to run away as fast as I could. Hello, boss. Goodbye, boss. Why am I so scared? It's all because her presence is too overwhelming. When I first came to the company for my interview, I overheard her angrily berating some leaders. What kind of proposal is this? Even a dog could write better than you. Did you copy this? Anyone could tell at a glance. And you call this a proposal? Anyone who didn't know might think. You wrote a few pages of jokes just to amuse me. After scolding those people, she turned her gaze towards me. She clearly froze for a moment, looking at me with a strange expression. Wait! I stood there rigid, barely daring to breathe. You know me? We've chatted before. With that, she took a large step towards me, leaned closer, looking me in the eyes. We were just chatting a few days ago, remember? She handed me her phone, showing me the profile picture on the screen. I remembered when I couldn't find a job after graduation. I sent out my resume everywhere, but got no responses. Then one day, I heard that the subway was allowing personal ads, so I boldly placed my resume on them. Over the next few days, I received numerous messages from ours, including one from the person standing in front of me. After adding her as a friend, she immediately asked about my job situation, my experience and competitions, and so on. I asked her which company she was with, and she sent me a company introduction, a massive 500 megabytes file, with the company email listed below. So I submitted my resume again and was invited for an interview. I thought you were from HR. I never expected you to be the boss. At that moment, I genuinely wanted to find a hole in the ground and disappear. You thought I was HR? She raised her eyebrows, her face full of disbelief. I'm sorry, boss. I didn't recognize greatness when I saw it. I was just desperate to come for the interview today. If you allow me to join the company, I'll definitely be at your service and follow your lead. Liu Ryan's expression was a bit odd, but she didn't say anything more, just waved me off. I managed to join the company smoothly, but I never exchanged another word with Liu Ryan on WeChat. After starting at the company, I also successfully joined the ranks of Liu Ryan's anti-fan group. It was just like back in school, venting about the school leadership. It wasn't that I particularly hated her. It was just a channel for my frustrations with all the various rules and regulations. As the boss, she naturally became the main target. But I never thought Liu Ryan would actually approach me, asking for my opinion about the company. At that moment, my mind went blank. I even suspected that my idle activities in the company's anti-fan group had been reported. The company's fine, it's helped me broaden my perspective, made me aware that there are things in this world far scarier than the underworld. The leaders are also very concerned about us, constantly sending messages urging me to work and practically squeezing every bit of effort out of me daily. After saying that, I felt a chill in my heart and could only muster an awkward smile to cover it up. The large office had only the two of us. I felt as nervous as a newlywed bride. Liu Ryan nodded and asked again, "So, what do you think of me?" Alarm bells rang in my head. I quickly replied, "Boss, you are simply a guiding light in our industry. Following you, I'm sure I'll learn a lot. Boss, my life is yours." Hearing this, Liu Ryan let out a soft laugh. The usual icy expression she wore melted into a smile, with a faint dimple appearing at the corner of her mouth, spreading wider as she laughed. Her gaze wasn't as cold as usual anymore. I was startled, suddenly realizing she actually looked quite beautiful when she smiled. Lost in thought, I heard her say, "There's a seminar coming up in a few days. You should come with me." Boss, which day exactly? I asked cautiously. "This weekend." Internally, I cursed. How could there be something so cold coming out of a mouth at 37 degrees? The boss unexpectedly assured me, "I'll pay you triple overtime, plus covering your travel and accommodation expenses." Truthfully, I was actually free that day. Liu Ryan nodded in satisfaction and dismissed me. Back at my desk, I quickly asked around if any of the other interns had been called in for a talk. Turns out none of them had. I grew even more puzzled. Why was I singled out for this? Just as I was deep in thought, He Kong walked up to me. "What did Liu Ryan say to you?" She asked for my opinions about the company and about her. He Kang's hand paused slightly on his pen. It seemed like this was the first time he had encountered something like this. He couldn't figure out what Liu Ryan was up to. That afternoon, Liu Ryan's personal assistant came to our department. He Kong greeted them with a big grin, looking as pleased as a flower in bloom. "There's an industry exchange meeting in the neighboring city this weekend. Get yourself prepared." "Understood, Liu. Don't worry. I'll definitely. And your department's Kaozu-kun has to come along too." The assistant glanced at me from afar, gesturing not to forget. I quickly nodded. A colleague next to me nudged me lightly. "Zukun, when did you get so close with the boss? That you're going on a business trip together? Opportunities like this are rare. You're willing to sacrifice your weekend sleep time to travel with the boss? This isn't just a business trip. This means that for the next half month, I'll have to be on high alert at work." My colleague, however, seemed amused by the whole situation. Certainly not a great thing, but there's someone who seems pretty pleased about it. She motioned towards He Kong, and when I looked over, I locked eyes with He Kong. He glared at me fiercely. What the hell did I do to offend him? Recently, He Kong would often brag about his experience working abroad, in a high-level position at a foreign branch of the company. He even mentioned how, back when the boss was also training at the foreign branch, they supported each other. Anyone with half a brain could see it. He likes the boss. Likes Liu Ryan, huh? A chill ran down my spine, and I broke into a cold sweat. This He Kong must be really blinded by his feelings. Even though He Kong clearly dislikes me, he hadn't been this openly hostile before. But in front of others, he still managed to force a smile. Back then, when I was abroad, I loved mentoring interns the most. Liu Ryan knows this, which is why she let Kaozu-kun tag along this time. He even put on an act, patting me on the shoulder. "Don't mention it, just learn well. Don't let down the expectations of me and Liu." After He Kong left, a colleague whispered to me, "You've become the third wheel. This business trip might be a disaster for you." Sure enough, on the day of the trip, when we met at the airport, He Kong gave me a once-over, and with a mocking tone said, "First time flying first class, huh? With your salary, you could never afford this kind of treatment. Make sure you savor it." Just as he finished, Liu Ryan walked over after handling the boarding passes. As soon as she spoke, she fired back. "It's just a seat, and you've managed to make a big deal out of it. If you're so well off, why not throw money around on the streets?" Liu double quotes He Kong put on a pitiful expression, but Liu Ryan didn't even acknowledge him. After checking in, I noticed that my room was right next to Liu Ryan's, while He Kong and the assistant's rooms were at the other end of the hallway. "Kaozu-kun, let's switch rooms. In case Liu needs me at night, I can get there quickly," He Kong suggested. My curiosity about the gossip had just been piqued when Liu Ryan doused it with cold water. Middle of the night instead of sleeping. "What would I need you for? Are you going to manage who stays next to me too? Anyone who doesn't know might think there's something going on between us." With that, Liu Ryan grabbed her suitcase and walked off. I was about to follow her, when He Kong suddenly grabbed my hand. "What's your relationship with Liu?" Liu Ryan had already walked far ahead, and He Kong dropped his facade completely, staring at me with a venomous gaze, sending chills down my spine. "Kid, you're still too green. Don't set your sights on things that aren't yours. Those who try to take shortcuts always end up tripping." "Sure, I'm younger than you, manager, but it seems like you're the one more eager to take that shortcut." I rolled my eyes and turned away. Maybe I wasn't earnest enough, because not only did He Kong not back off, but he also dumped a pile of work on me, insisting I finish it all at the hotel. The seminar is full of industry big shots. What's an intern like you going to do there? Better stay here and get your work done quickly. I'll put in a good word for you with the boss. So why did I even come on this trip? I could have done this work from home just the same. Truly, there's no such thing as a good boss. Fuming, I opened the document on my laptop at the hotel. I was just about to vent to my girlfriend for a bit when Liu Ryan's call came in. He-Kong says you didn't want to attend the seminar and preferred to use the time to work. Who said that? I never mentioned anything like that. I remember you've participated in quite a few AI competitions, and there are several experts in related fields at this seminar. Don't you want to come and listen? Absolutely. I answered firmly. To be honest, the main reason I was excited about this trip was for this very seminar. Otherwise, no amount of money would have been enough for me. Otherwise, I would have had to fake an illness to skip. Hearing my firm response, the person on the other end of the call chuckled softly. You've got 10 minutes. We'll be waiting in the parking lot downstairs, 7-6 for tea. I quickly changed clothes and dashed downstairs. As soon as I reached the parking lot, I heard voices not far away. Liu Ryan and He-Kong were talking. I don't recall when you became my boss, or when you gained the power to sway my decisions. I'm the one who wanted Kao Zukun to come along. What's your reasoning for leaving him at the hotel? He-Kong hung his head, but couldn't resist quietly defending himself. I just felt that for this kind of seminar, there's no need for you to bring an intern. Weren't these kinds of meetings always the ones I used to accompany you to? What you're referring to is stuff from years ago, isn't it? Besides, when didn't I bring a whole group along, and you made them all your targets? He-Kong fell silent, staring at Liu Ryan with wide, innocent eyes, tears nearly spilling over. I hesitated for a moment, unsure whether to step forward. But Liu Ryan turned and caught my eye immediately. Let's go, get in the car. The seminar was just as Liu Ryan described. Several industry leaders were present. At one point, Liu Ryan was even invited to the stage to speak. For the first time, I listened attentively to her talk, hearing her eloquently discuss the future of the industry. Many in the audience were recording videos and taking photos. I couldn't resist snapping a picture myself. In the photo, Liu Ryan was dressed in a tailored suit, exuding a calm and poised demeanor with articulate speech. As the host asked questions, she seamlessly wove in lighthearted jokes, all without missing a beat. But the way she speaks, why does it sound so much like my girlfriend when we talk on the phone every night? Especially that joke she just made. My girlfriend told me the exact same one a few days ago. I was just starting to piece things together when He-Kong suddenly interrupted me. Are you finding that woman pretty charming? His eyes were glued to Liu Ryan on stage. I've accompanied her to many seminars like this. Back then, she was sent by her family to the branch office to gain experience. I was the one by her side, fighting alongside her. I noticed long ago that she's not like others, but she's not someone you should be thinking about. He-Kong finally tore his gaze away, turning to look at me. She deserves someone better. Someone like me. Got it? That's all well and good, I thought. But it doesn't seem like Liu Ryan sees He-Kong the same way. Actually, manager, I have a girlfriend, I replied. Good, keep it that way. He-Kong scoffed but didn't say more. That night, after the seminar ended, I had just finished showering and was lying in bed, ready to rest, when I suddenly received a message from Liu Ryan. It seems like my room's faucet is broken. Could I use your bathroom? Isn't this a 5-star hotel? How could the equipment break so easily? Boss, maybe you could use your assistant's bathroom. Or even He-Kong's, he'd probably be thrilled. Are you suggesting I shower and then walk through half the hallway in the cold? That wouldn't be too convenient indeed. After thinking for a moment, I agreed. The next second, I heard a knock on the door. Liu Ryan was already standing at my room's entrance. Thanks, I'm here to borrow your bathroom. A night on a business trip. And the boss is here to borrow the bathroom. I belatedly realized this situation might be quite inappropriate. But by then, Liu Ryan was already in my bathroom. Kao Zukun. I didn't notice when the sound of running water stopped. The bathroom door cracked open, with steam billowing out. Soon, a voice called out. It was Liu Ryan. Could you hand me the hairdryer? This doesn't feel right, I thought, but I was already picking up the hairdryer and trotting over, just one step from the bathroom. I tripped over my own feet and stumbled right into the doorway. Oh no! Now it's impossible to explain this away. I cried out in despair as I barged into the bathroom. A small yelp came from inside. Boss, I was about to close my eyes, but I realized Liu Ryan had already put on a bathrobe. Kao-zukun, have you seen enough? Your expression looks quite odd. I snapped back to reality and fled the bathroom, terrified. What on earth did I just do? I collapsed on the sofa, questioning my life choices. I had just stared at my boss for so long, so much for manners. Oddly enough, why would she still call me today? If it were any other night, we'd usually be lying in bed chatting by now. Just as I was thinking this, Liu Ryan finished blow-drying her hair and casually walked out of the bathroom. Thanks. Oh, no problem. Feel free to come again next time. I reflexively responded, meeting Liu Ryan's amused gaze. I couldn't help but slap my own mouth. My mouth moves first, and my brain chases after. Liu Ryan was about to leave, so I followed her to see her out and locked the door. By the way, Sukun, she suddenly switched to a more familiar tone. Her tone was softer than I had ever heard. To be honest, it sounded a lot like my girlfriend's voice. Could it be that I'm just missing her too much? Actually, I've never told you. She paused mid-sentence. I had already opened the door, only to come face to face with He Kong standing in the hallway. He seemed to be on his way to knock on Liu Ryan's door. But seeing Liu Ryan coming out of my room, his eyes widened in disbelief. Something didn't feel right. Something was definitely off. Ever since we returned from the trip, I felt uneasy. Lately, Liu Ryan kept creeping into my thoughts, and all I could picture was her confident presence at the seminar. I shook my head, trying to shake off these inappropriate thoughts. My colleague noticed my distraction, leaned over and asked, "What's up with you? You've been acting strange ever since the trip. Poor guy, you're probably just swamped with work." I snapped back to reality, looking at the mountain of tasks before me, sighing endlessly. The other day, He Kong caught Liu Ryan leaving my room, and though he didn't say anything, it was clear from his expression that he wasn't buying it. When we returned, he piled a ton of work on me. No wonder he's in a leadership position. All the tasks he assigned were technically within my job scope, so I couldn't refuse, but they were tedious and mind-numbingly exhausting. I spent the entire morning buried in these boring and meaningless data. Finally, it was lunchtime, and I quickly gathered my things and stood up. My colleagues invited me to join them for lunch, but I turned them down decisively. Because today at noon, I had something more important to do. I was going to meet my online girlfriend in person. We've chatted for so long, but I've never seen what she looks like. All I've done is rely on my imagination while staring at her profile picture. It was time to take our relationship to the next level. I arranged to meet my girlfriend at the restaurant on the ground floor of my office building. As the time drew closer, I couldn't help but feel nervous. What if the reality doesn't match the expectations? What if she doesn't like me? My phone buzzed, and I thought it was a message from her. But when I checked, it was a message from He Kong. "Finish all the documents I send you. I don't care how late you have to stay, but this must be done today." The power hierarchy is real, and the higher-ups sure know how to make me their errand boy. Liu Ryan said to prioritize efficiency in work, so get it done quickly. Seeing He King's message made me even angrier. Who does he think he is, acting all high and mighty? I gritted my teeth and glanced out the window, only to spot Liu Ryan. She was briskly walking out of the office, adjusting her collar by the glass window and smiling like a proud peacock. Great, now I'm even more irritated. Why do I have to worry about work while meeting my girlfriend, while she gets to happily enjoy her lunch break? Too bad I don't have the guts to make a scene at work. So I just grumbled under my breath and called my girlfriend. Liu Ryan seemed to be in a celebratory mood, dressed up and everything. Who knows who she's meeting? Ignoring her subordinates all day. Yet, wait, why did Liu Ryan pick up the call at the same time? Just as I was wondering, Liu Ryan walked into the restaurant and stood right in front of me. Her voice overlapped with the one on the phone. Baby, keep cursing. I'm listening. Clatter. My phone slipped right out of my hand and fell to the floor. I stood there, frozen, only for words echoed in my mind. I'm doomed. Why is my online girlfriend Liu Ryan? I stared at the woman calmly cutting her steak across from me, feeling utterly shattered. What's wrong, baby? Anything else bothering you? She placed the neatly cut steak onto my plate, but all I wanted to do was cover my face and cry. This morning, she was still holding a staff meeting, coldly talking about the company's major tasks for the next 6 months. Yet now, just hours later, she's calling me baby right in front of me. I was too overwhelmed by the contrast. Why are you in your own anti-fan group? Do you enjoy listening to people curse you every day? Not really. I just wanted to hear what the employees think of me. The company's complaint box rarely receives honest feedback, but in the group, I can get a sense of everyone's true thoughts. Well, how about removing the surveillance above the complaint box and see what happens? Then why did you start an online relationship with me? She wouldn't even admit the truth when she saw me. Liu Ryan awkwardly cleared her throat, her ears slowly turning red. You might not believe this, she began. I happened to see you at the subway entrance by chance. I genuinely just wanted to make friends with you. I've always liked people with unique ways of thinking like yours. I was stunned. Liu Ryan quickly added, it was you who wrote that you were open to job offers and friendships alike. I approached you for friendship, but then you immediately asked me about my job situation. I really wanted to pull up her old chat records and throw them in her face. It was clearly she who first asked about my job, my academic background, and my competition experiences, just like an HR interview. Sorry, I haven't talked much with guys before, so I didn't know what to say, having never made friends before. Liu Ryan, who only knew how to conduct interviews, ended up getting mistaken by me for HR. When you suddenly asked about the company, I thought you were finally interested in me. I didn't know how to respond, afraid if I said too much, you'd think I was narcissistic. But if I said too little, you wouldn't understand me enough. So this equally quirky person sent me a detailed company introduction. As someone who's proactive and likes to chase stories, I immediately submitted my resume. No wonder when I first met Liu Ryan at the company, her expression seemed so odd. I thought maybe you liked me. But then I got scared and didn't dare to talk to you anymore. When I saw you join the group, I decided to use a secondary account to chat with you. Unexpectedly, as we chatted, we just hit it off. After the meal, Liu Ryan took the initiative to settle the bill. As we were leaving, she gently tugged at my sleeve. For the first time, I sensed a bit of awkwardness and unease from her. This is my first time being in a relationship, even if it's an online one. Does this mean we've successfully met in real life? Can we continue to be together? Will you still send me cute photos? Her face reddened even more. Yes, I agreed. Liu Ryan finally smiled, holding my hand as we walked back to the company, only letting go when we got into the elevator. I was about to press the button when she leaned in close and whispered, "Tonight, I'll take you home." The elevator doors opened, and we bumped right into He Kang's sour face. Speaking of fate, He Kang and I seemed to have some sort of twisted connection. Ever since Liu Ryan and I officially got together, we've been sneaking around, meeting secretly in the fire escape. Several times, we ran into him while leaving. His gaze towards me grew increasingly resentful and hostile. After my internship ended, I transitioned smoothly into a full-time position. From then on, rumors started circulating, with some saying I only got my job because I hooked up with the boss. I overheard this in the break room, and my anger flared up instantly. If hooking up with the boss could get me a job, Then what about all those months of overtime? Were those just for charity? Kong was gossiping with some middle managers in the break room, and the more he talked, the more outrageous it got. Anyway, I didn't sign off on his paperwork to become permanent. Who knows what methods he used to get the job? I stormed over. Manager, are you talking about me? Who did I hook up with? Come on, say it. Kong probably didn't expect me to be so confrontational and was momentarily stunned. My outburst quickly drew a crowd of onlookers. Go on, manager, tell us. Did you see it with your own eyes? You couldn't see me working every day, but you sure saw me with the boss. Someone nearby snickered, only to be glared at fiercely by Kong. How Zugun? Stop playing innocent. You know exactly what you've done. What did I do? Go ahead and say it. What about my work didn't satisfy you? Tell me. You say I'm incompetent, then be specific. Which part of my work didn't meet your standards? Kang's face darkened, and he suddenly grabbed my wrist, shouting at me. Stop playing dumb. Are you saying you didn't seduce Liu Ryan? Isn't it more like she seduced me? To make sure everyone believed me, I shook off Kang's hand and called Liu Ryan right then and there. She picked up almost immediately. What's up, baby? Calling all of a sudden. Didn't we agree to keep a low profile at work? Or did you finally come to a decision? Ready to make our relationship official? I glanced at Kong. His face had turned pale, and he looked like he was about to collapse. The managers who were chatting with him quickly distanced themselves. I explained the situation to Liu Ryan, and she showed up shortly after. Once we were inside the office, Kong, still unwilling to accept it, pleaded tearfully for Liu Ryan to clarify things. Liu Ryan simply leaned in and gave me a kiss in front of everyone. Understand now? We've been together for a while. What about me? What am I to you? I came back from abroad because of you. Did you misunderstand something? Do you know why the company transferred you from the VP position at the branch back to a manager role? It's because your performance overseas wasn't up to par. The company originally intended to fire you, but since you've worked for the company for so many years, I decided to give you another chance by bringing you back. Kong stood there, frozen, struggling to accept the reality. Liu Ryan said his work was too impulsive, and that he lacked the ability to make sound decisions, leading HR to recommend his dismissal. As we left, Kong collapsed onto the floor, losing the composure he once had, crying in despair. Nobody paid him any attention anymore. News of me and Liu Ryan spread throughout the company that same day. During work, a colleague nudged my arm and asked, "How did you two get together?" Well, it's a long story that starts with one weirdo who posted an ad at a subway station, and another weirdo who saw it and decided to reach out.